Last mini-series was from Italy, so it's fitting to start this one in Little Venice. This mini-series looked at transport in England, with this video focusing on canal boats, in particular Little Venice and the Grand Union Canal. Little Venice is located in Paddington, which is in London Zone 2, i.e. it's close to central London. Canal boats can access it through the Grand Union Canal, which is the principal navigable waterway from the Midlands to London. The London Water Bus Companies has trips between Little Venice and Camden Lock that take 45 minutes, with each boat having great views along the route. Canal boats can be berthed for weekends or slightly longer, but long-term berthing is not permitted. Each boat has access to water and electricity while berthed. This video uses chapters, starting with Little Venice and the Grand Union Canal. I then visit Eton and Windsor before returning via Heathrow and Kensington Park. The final chapter is a bonus section which explains how to operate locks and other key canal boat operational aspects. Enjoy. Grand Union Canal got its name because of the union of various canals that were built or connected from the 1700s to 1932. It consists of two main arms, the original one that flows from Birmingham to the Thames in London, and the other that flows from Leicester also to the Thames. There are also many branches, including one to Slough that passes near Eton. The Grand Union Canal is the largest canal in the UK at 460 kilometres or 286 miles, including its branches. Two of the nation's longest canal tunnels are on the Grand Union, both of which are over 2 kilometres or 1.2 miles.
Shame no one can smell, because there's a definite smell of burning rather than of cooking, but not burning food, just a general air of burning, probably coal I guess, because that's what a lot of them use.
The ride was done on a cold day in October, and so the boat occupants were using their stove to heat their boats and produce hot water. The main fuels are wood, coal and other waste combustibles. The exhaust is released from the boat through a chimney that is head height for passers-by. Combining this with cold, still air meant that the emissions were felt as I rode past. The smell is fully vented from the boat, and so the occupants are not affected by it. Many boats have solar systems, however there isn't much space for panels, and short hours of light in the winter mean that energy they produce is limited. Therefore, in the cooler parts of the year, boat emissions can be higher from the stove than the engine. Although Eton is the most famous school in the world, it is actually only the 18th oldest in England. It was founded by King Henry VI as recently as 1441. It is one of only 3 male public boarding schools in England, with the others becoming open to all genders. Fees are £50,000 per year, although additional expenses may be incurred for trips and other miscellaneous reasons. Eton is considered the chief nurse of England's statesmen. It is educated generations of British and foreign aristocracy, prime ministers and leading civil servants. In 1678 there were 207 boys. This increased to 300 by the late 1700s, and today it stands at about 1300. In summary, if you have the money, want your son to be a world leader, and don't want him to spend time with females or you, then Eton is the place to send him. Heathrow Airport was founded in 1929 but was only developed after World War II. It's on the far west side of London and is connected to London by trains, buses and roads. However, some of the roads are off limits to bicycles. There are 4 passenger terminals. Terminal 5 is separate from Terminals 2 to 4 and linked by a free underground train. In 2019, Heathrow served 80.9 million passengers and 218 destinations. Heathrow runs at 99% capacity, and so any issue can cause major disruption. In 2015, a third runway was proposed by the government. This has been reviewed by the courts and granted permission. However, the government has only provided limited support since then, and the Labour Party, who are expected to become the government in 2024, are against the expansion. Only time will tell what actually happens. Pods connect Terminal 5 to its car park. Water will not flow uphill, however boats need to travel upstream and so locks are invented to make this easier. A canal lock is simply a chamber with gates at either end. By emptying or filling that chamber with water, your boat can move up or down onto a new section of the waterway. Although there are many different kinds of canal locks, they all work in pretty much the same way. With the lock gates closed, you open sluices, which are paddles, to let the water in and out. When the water level under your boat is the same level as where you're moving to, you simply move out of the lock. The water seen flowing through gate is actually just water leakage. This isn't how water is supposed to be transferred in the lock. At the bottom of the gates are special openings called paddles. These are open to allow water through and close when it is at the right level. When approaching the lock, check the water level to see if you need to fill or empty it, and check whether all gates are closed, otherwise water will flow uncontrollably. Also check the side of your boat for anything that's hanging off the side that could cause problems such as snagging. The next job is to change the water level to the desired height. This is achieved through opening the upstream paddles to fill the lock or the downstream ones to empty it. Paddle gear can be either hydraulic or rack and pinion. On the rack and pinion type, remember to engage the safety check before winding up the paddles. This stops the gears from slipping down. When you finish winding the paddles up, check the safety catch is in position and then take off the windlass. With one crew member at the helm and one at the paddles, you will wind the paddle gear up and down using the windlass or lock key. You should always wind them bit by bit and keep an eye on the effect of the water on your boat. Always wind the paddles back down. If you let them drop, they could break. To release the safety catch, wind the paddle up a little further, take the strain from the windlass, then remove the safety catch and wind the paddle down the other way. It usually takes 10 to 20 minutes to go through a lock, and I'll give step-by-step instructions for going upstream as follows. When going uphill, dock near the lock but far enough away to avoid eddy currents. Check the water level. If empty, open the gates and enter. If full, slowly empty by raising the paddles. Open the gates and steer in. Close the downstream gates and paddles. If there are ground paddles, open these before the gate paddles. Sail into the lock. Close the downstream gates and paddles. Steady the boat using front and back ropes, but don't tie up as the boat has to move with the changing water level. When the lock is full, open the gates and sail out. Dock nearby so that the crew can close the gates and paddles. If the gates don't open or close easily, wait for the water level to equalize. If the gates are still stiff, remove debris with your boat hook. Going downhill is very similar to going uphill. Again, dock near the lock and check the water level. If empty, slowly fill by raising the paddles. Open gates and steer in. Close the upstream gates and paddles. The next step is crucial. Keep the back of your boat well clear of the sill on the top gates. The sill is an area that sticks out by 5 feet or 1.5 meters, and you can only see them when the lock's emptying. Close the upstream gates and paddles. Steady the boat using front and back ropes, but don't tie up as the boat needs to move with the changing water level. When the lock is empty, open the gates and sail out. Dock nearby so the crew can close the gates and paddles. If the gates don't open or close easily, wait for the water level to equalize. If the gates are still stiff, remove debris with your boat hook. Another scenario you might come across is sharing a lock to save water. Always share a lock if you can, and if the lock's set against you, check for boats coming from the other direction. The lock will be ready for them to use and it will save unnecessary emptying and filling. It's sometimes possible to get 2 short boats end to end in a narrow lock, but you need to check you have enough room to avoid the sill. The heavier boat should always go in first so that the water flow doesn't pull it into the lighter boat. In broad locks, boats should be kept to the side with ropes looped around the bollards. Open the 2 paddles equal amounts at the same time where possible and slowly. Some lock walls taper from top to bottom, so if you're travelling side by side with another boat, make sure there's plenty of room between you. Another navigation hazard is bridges and tunnels. You'll come across a whole range of bridges on your travels. Some are fixed and some need to be moved out of the way to let your boat pass. Get information on what sort of bridges to expect on your journey from the navigation authority or by reading a local waterway guide. Remember that many bridges have low headroom. Weather conditions upstream have an effect on river water levels. Adequate clearance today might disappear tomorrow if the water level rises. Bridges can be narrow too, which means river water tends to speed up as you get narrower. This can draw your boat towards the bridge, so stay alert. Boats travelling downstream on rivers have the right of way of bridges and narrows. Canal tunnels vary in length and width. Some can be very short. However, some can be more than 1 kilometre or a mile long and have special arrangements such as one-way systems where boats cannot pass each other inside the tunnel. Some tunnels have traffic lights while others only allow travel in a specific direction at certain times. Please check route details. In the days when boats were horse-drawn, men would lay on the boat and walk along the inside of the tunnel. However, it's more practical to rely on the boat's engine. If you're on the outside of the boat, please wear a life jacket because falling into dark, cold water with poor access can be disorientating. Boat lighting should not be aimed straight ahead as that will blind oncoming traffic. Instead, aim it slightly towards the ceiling. Finally, before entering the tunnel, switch on your headlight and also some internal lights. Make sure that additional lighting in the form of a waterproof torch is available for the person steering. Check that there is no boat already in the tunnel coming towards you if it is too narrow for 2 boats to pass. Ensure nobody is on the roof or sides of the boat. Put on waterproofs as tunnel roofs are often wet with dripping water. Put on your life jacket if you're outside.